So it's been a weird week. There's been a lot of news and information. There's about to be a whole bunch more. Final Fantasy VII has been going ape shit on their Twitter. When we thought, like, hey, maybe they're gonna, you know, go dark for a bit because FF16 is coming out. No, apparently we're not going dark. And we always think this, right? And then they just throw up, here's a direct or something like that. So there has been developer comments going up to 5 days now. There's daily Final Fantasy VII Rebirth posts going over highlights of the game. And seemingly the final day of this is leading up to the day for Summer Games Fest. I would prefer it if we didn't have to get FF7 Remake news the same day that we get Mortal Kombat 1 gameplay news. But you know what? I'm guessing that shit just makes sense because of reasons. Developer comment 1. How's development going? From the producer, Yoshinari Kitase, director of OG FF7. Development is progressing smoothly and according to plan. We're currently working on nailing a release date for the game. Cool. Release date soon. The next day, there's more. Naoki Hamaguchi, who is the Rebirth director and also co-director of the first game, says, how will players journey through the world outside of Midgar and FF7 Rebirth? And that players will be able to journey across the wide and multifaceted world with a high degree of freedom, experiencing a myriad of different stories along the way. We had a guesstimate about this. We had a lot of hands-on time with Final Fantasy 16, and before I played FF16, it felt very weird to me that they're having this big, large world, sort of like open FF16 game, and also potentially a big, large, open world-ish, large-ish kind of FF7 game. It seemed weird to me that they're going to be doing the same things. However, after playing FF16, I learned that's not the case. FF16 is more so a large-scale, like, Devil May Cry game. Bit bigger zones and more story-oriented, stuff like that. So it's like, oh, FF16 isn't the big, open-scale, high degree of freedom. It really isn't that. You get big zones and stuff, but it doesn't really come across as that kind of a game. It seems like that makes a lot more sense for FF7 because those are the emotions that you all get when you leave Midgar for the first time in OG FF7. Look at this huge world we get to explore. What the hell? There's all this shit. So it's a very different kind of game. Now that I think about it, I'm like, oh shit, maybe FF7 is going to be this, you know, super large scale, maybe even on a similar scale. I'm not going to say Breath of the Wild, but maybe like on a scale of like a Horizon or something like that. Because Naoki Hamaguchi has gone on record saying he really loves like the gameplay design of Horizon and Horizon-like games. So I'm like, fascinating. So it seems like FF16 is the very focused, story-oriented, action, crazy game. And this game might be the, let's journey across Midgar together, you know? By this quote, it seems like, oh, there's going to be a lot of exploration on our way to the Northern Crater, which is where I'm assuming FF7 Part 2 is actually going to end. That's my big prediction for this stuff. This high degree of freedom, lots of stories, lots of side quests, lots of ways to expand character development than ever before. So the next one, number 3, from Nojima, who's the writer of FF7 Original, Story and Scenario, and of FF7 Remake. What are some key things to look forward into Rebirth story? Players will witness a chain of narrative developments. Get ready. That lie at the very heart of Final Fantasy VII story while discovering each character's destiny. I can't believe it. Final Fantasy VII will have a story. No one could have seen this happen. That is such a broad statement that it's almost bold. Next! FF7 Rebirth, comment number 4 from 7 Rebirth co-director Motomo Toriyama. Do I need to play 7 Remake Part 1 to enjoy Rebirth? The answer, no. We have made preparations so that the players who did not get a chance to play the first game can fully enjoy Rebirth. You know what? Which is interesting. I wonder if it's going to be, you know, like a follow-up game situation. There's like a recap video. There honestly might be a recap video that takes care of this. I wouldn't be surprised. However, if you think about it like a bit deeper, Final Fantasy VII OG doesn't really start until you leave Midgar. Leaving Midgar is like the beginning of the game. It's the moment you realize that, oh, this is actually the game. I thought the game was something else, and now the game is actually something different. That's kind of an interpretation of FF7 Remake Part 1, because we all felt that way, right? We all knew that Part 1 is going to be Midgar focused, even from the early predictions we were making. It makes a lot of sense just to expand Midgar in several ways, sometimes good, sometimes bad. That turned that into a much bigger area that begins the story. So that makes sense. But Part 2 is where the biggest question is. Rebirth is where everyone is like, oh, so what's Rebirth going to be like? Is it going to be open world? Are they going to have multiple party members? Are we going to do this? Are we going to do that? There's so many more questions about FF7 Part 2 of how this game is going to be constructed as a game because of all of our interpretations of the OG game. And yeah, for a lot of people, you could just fire up FF7 after you leave Midgar, and it's kind of a completely great playable game. You're on a hunt for Sephiroth. You got this setup, right? And you understand they're bad. There's bad Midgar guys, but now it's the hunt for Sephiroth. So I get what he's saying here, that in several ways, it could be a very different game than before, taking a lot of stuff from the OG. Part 5. How will the battle system change in 7 Remake? Or how has it changed from 7 Remake Part 1? In Rebirth, new comrades will join, and in battle, you can cooperate with other party members in even closer ways than before. From Teruki Endo, the battle director. Dual text, baby. That's all I'm going to say. I'm just going to say team up attacks. Again, this is going to come across, for anybody that's watching this and has been watching my FF7 videos, I must just sound like a broken record, reevaluating these thought processes that we have been going through since, you know, even before FF7 was out. It makes a lot of sense to me that you'd have an FF10-like PHS system. All of your party members are available at any time, and you do not have to limit the amount of party you have at any given time. What's one of the most annoying things about 7 Remake? What can they fix? I'm out doing some shit, and all of a sudden there's this thing flying around, and I can't really engage it. My characters are all grounded dumb bitches, and I need like Barrett to shoot this thing. So I just wish I can bring Barrett in here to shoot this thing. Unfortunately, you can't in FF7 Remake Part 1. Yuffie kind of fixes that in the DLC, which is fun, but that's an issue, right? The issue is that depending on the situation, I need other party members to take care of this stuff. How nice would it be if they were just brought together by a system mechanic in some way related to the old game where they're immediately available on the fly. Thus, the PHS starts to kick in. The old cell phone thing you get in OG FF7 that allows you to bring in any party members at a save point. How amazing would that shit be if you can do it in battle? If you can bring them in battle. Possibly with limitations, but almost like a tag game. Maybe even Hi-Fi Rush style? Who knows? That ability will be so much more interesting. That opens up the gameplay so much, dude. On top of the fact that, yes, them working together in unique ways is going to be genuinely cool. I feel like if you want to get compared to Hi-Fi Rush, the team-up attacks are going to be a lot more similar to Hi-Fi Rush team-up attacks, which are essentially just dual techs, you know? Chrono Trigger dual tech things of just figuring out what works best for this situation and how do we like Wolverine special? What's the thing where Hulk puts Wolverine in his hand and he throws his ass? The fastball special. How are we going to be able to fastball special Tifa off of Cloud's sword? That's the kind of shit we're talking about. And then you control Tifa during the fastball special. Like, that kind of shit sounds amazing to me. Fuck, dude. New comrades joining and cooperating with other party members in even closer ways than before. To me, it really seems like team-up attacks, and we'll get access to more characters and more team members than we did in the original game. I can't fucking wait, man. This honestly has me the most excited of all of it, because this dramatically opens up the battle and combat in more interesting and diverse ways than ever before. The question is, are we going to have to fully equip everybody, every single character with materia? That's now a completely new balancing act in the game. If you're going to use these characters, now you don't want to swap material loadouts per team. Now it's like, so does everybody get equipped with shit? In Final Fantasy X, that was kind of the case. You had to like manage everybody's, you know, sphere grid at any given time. So we'll see. That seems like a lot of busy work. That seems like a lot of menu busy work. There's already issues that come up as a result of that. Crazy exciting, man. Like, my God. There's also been some other really interesting developments from Audrey. She's done some amazing translation work for FF7, and she has a little compilation of what is happening, especially with the text that is in a green font. Looking at day 1 to 5 of Rebirth tweet keywords in Japanese, which really does give a reason to believe that even more of there being a hidden message. The text technically translates to fix the timeline. Day 2 translates to steep freedom. We were thinking that's a gameplay thing, which it obviously is, but is literally a line from Zack. The price of freedom is steep. Day 3, the whereabouts of destiny. Seemingly, our character is going to be set on the same path as the previous game, and that's a big question. Are we going to be doing the exact same events as OG FF7? How is things going to change? Day 4, get ready for friends to join forces and fight. All these cryptic words could potentially hint at Zack either joining Cloud and company to fight or is working alongside us to fix the timeline, which is, you know, I hate to clap my hands again of you playing in one timeline and then playing as Zack in an alternate timeline where you're essentially on a similar path, or Cloud and crew is to do the thing that they need to do, but Zack is on a path in a different timeline to do the same thing that Cloud's crew wants to do. They're all going after Sephiroth. Laguna shit. Yep, exactly. We described it as Laguna shit the exact same way when we finished FF7 Remake for like the first time. How crazy would it be that this alternate timeline is going to have them doing the same thing in the same way, and eventually they're going to meet up at some point, you know? Who's going to join Zack? That's a great question. That's a great question. That's exciting. One thing interesting to note is that Day 5 uses the picture of Cloud and Sephiroth with the words, "Friends increase and will join you to fight," which can also be an allusion to Sephiroth fighting with you in the flashback, which we already seems heavily alluded to. That in this image, in the trailer from a year ago, that Cloud is the non-playable character and you're playing as Sephiroth in this opening story / like tutorial, which is going to be acting as like the story primer. I just hope, please, I just want the title screen to be something like this. The first scene in the game and the title screen of FF7 Rebirth is essentially this and this. Please, dear God, bro. Please. A couple of Shinra soldiers and Sephiroth in a bumpy car ride in the rain, in a storm, and it's just them going to Nibelheim. That'd be fucking perfect. And you start it in, you begin the game in the flashback. There's no hint that it's a flashback. You just start the game that way, dude. Oh my God.